Hey, Brew Crime listeners, this is Mike. Unfortunately, we're not going to have an episode of our own this week. We just couldn't make it happen. Too many things going on behind the scenes. So we were lucky enough to get an episode from Octoberpod. Our good friend Edward sent it along, and it's going to feature 3 stories from his podcast. All 3 feature me and or JT and Paige from Every True Crime. So the first of the 3 stories is going to be The Beast of Garibaldi, which I wrote the script for, and me, Paige, JT, and Edward all are voice actors in it. The next is Zaroff the Hound, which JT and Ed voiced. And then Final Girls True Crime features Paige from Reverie, our good friend Jen from our True Crime podcast, Nicole from True Crime South Africa. So we hope you enjoy this, and I'm sure we'll be back next week. Bye.
I'm Edward October. The sound you hear is July in the mountains of British Columbia. This is the start of Octoberpod. It's a beautiful day, and the sun is high in a cloudless sky that's almost unbearably blue. It's quite cool, just the right weather for an outdoor adventure. 2 hikers, Paige and JT, have traveled to hike Garibaldi Provincial Park. They traveled to Canada for fun, to take in the beautiful scenery, but when they lose contact with their friend Mike, who began his own Garibaldi trek a few days earlier, it quickly becomes a rescue mission. Here they come now. See them? They're just a little way down the trail.
Mike was not kidding when he said this park was beautiful. The meadows, flowers, the mountain peaks. It's absolutely breathtaking.
Only a masochist would like those switchbacks, though, on the way up to the meadows.
Well, I guess that means Mike must have been a masochist then. He loved this hike. So, where the heck are we anyways?
According to the map, this is Taylor Meadows, and further up, it's called Black Tusk Meadows. We better watch out for bears. This is definitely bear country.
Yeah, that peak to the north there it's Black Tusk, and it's an old volcano. But then I read that basically every peak in this park is a dormant volcano, including Mount Garibaldi.
You read something?
Yeah. Yuck it up. Let's just hope they stay dormant.
Wait, what?
As the kilometers add up, clouds slowly build on the horizon. However, the changing weather goes unnoticed by our 2 hikers.
Hey, Paige, I think I see a signpost ahead. To the left, it goes up to Black Tusk, but I think Mike was headed to the Helm Camp. We better head straight ahead. My God, I want to head up to the peak one day.
You know, I read about this area.
You read something?
Okay, I deserve that. Listen, we should come across 3 glacier lakes ahead of us, and then drop down into a cinder flat called the Helm, which is basically a field of volcanic rock with very little plant life. There is Helm Creek that runs through it, though. This will lead down to Helm Camp, the last location we know Mike was at. Hey, JT, I think I see a campground ahead.
Yeah, I can see the Helm Camp sign.
You start setting up camp. I'm going to look around to see if I can see any sign of Mike here.
As Paige investigates around the edges of the campground, JT begins to realize that he has no idea how to set up camp.
Well, shit, this tent must be broken. I don't get it at all.
A few bumps, bruises, and colorful metaphors later, and camp is set up, just in time for Paige to arrive.
Well, that was a bust. I found absolutely nothing. This place almost seems deserted.
I mean, it's hours from sundown. Let's do some bushwhacking to see if we can find anything.
What are you laughing at?
Whacking.
You really entertain yourself, don't you?
Hey, do you see that off in the distance? I think That's a tent.
Holy shit, I do see something.
The little red and white two-person tent looks untouched from the side entrance where our two hikers are standing. But the other side is a different story. 3 massive gashes yawn through the material on the opposite end of the tent. These troubling, worrisome signs go unnoticed by Paige and JT.
Well, should we try the zipper?
Should we be worried that the tent looks like it's gone through hell and back?
The tent floor is covered in personal effects. A backpack, flashlight, bear spray, and other random pieces of gear a backpacker is likely to carry. There's a sleeping bag, half rolled, as if its owner had been interrupted in the act of packing or unpacking it. At the foot of the sleeping bag there sits a dead cell phone. And next to that...
Shit! I think you just found Mike's hiking journal. It has a bunch of beer stickers on it. It's gotta be his.
Clouds blot out the sun, and the landscape turns ash gray. But Paige and JT are too busy sifting through the ravaged tent to notice.
I guess let's start from the beginning. I've been looking forward
to this trip for a long time. A solo trip through Garibaldi Lake, the Helm, and out at Chickamus Lake has always been a dream of mine. 30 plus kilometers through some of the most beautiful terrain I've ever experienced.
Okay, let's skip ahead a bit. We have to figure out what happened. I mean, look at this goddamn tent.
Well, let's try this page.
The weather has started to turn and the clouds have been dropping in fast. What the hell happened to the nice summer sun? The peaks were lost to clouds just before sundown at Taylor Meadows Camp. I sure hope that things don't get worse. I look forward to moving on to the Helm Camp tomorrow, and I hope the weather plays nice in the morning.
Here, let me take a peek. Well, the clouds definitely dropped.
And visibility is low. It would be generous to say I can see 10 feet ahead of me. I've decided to move on. I was only able to bring so many supplies, so I'm just packing up and heading out on the trail. Definitely hope I don't get lost. I think I lost the trail today. Somewhere. It had to have been on the way through the Helm. I mean, I crossed Helm Creek, but the Helm is almost featureless in the bloody fog. It got dark and I ended up in some forest. I don't even know the name anymore, but I decided to just set up camp. No point getting even more lost in the fog. And I sure don't want to fall and hurt myself in the dark. I must be close to the Helm Camp at this point, though. I mean, I was walking for a long time. Okay, last night was bloody creepy. As soon as the dark settled in, all noise ceased. And for what seems like an eternity, it was dead silent. Just as suddenly, there was a low growling breaking the silence. I don't know what to make of it, but I ended up falling asleep at some point. It was a restless sleep. I woke up in the thickest fog I've ever seen. I tried to find my way out of the bush, while not losing my tent. I should have known it was a fool's errand, though. What I did find were huge footprints around my tent. Now, this is not my first time hiking, and I know the look of a lot of animal footprints. These ones have stumped me. What the fuck was or is here with me? One thing I do know is that it's large.
What the hell is going on? Sorry, I am not one to read the rest of the plot. So can you flip to the last entry, dude?
Okay, here, okay. Whatever is out there
has scared the living shit out of me now. Low growling of something large, very close, and also scratching at the tent kept me awake all night. I've gotten no sleep, and you can bet I have my knife and bear spray at the ready. It has to be a bear, it just has to be. There's nothing else out there this big sounding. Those tracks, though. As the sun began to rise, the growling turned into snarls. Very, very loud snarls. With the light of day, the growling subsided, and when it does today, I'm gonna try and find my way out of here. I hope it's soon, but the fog is still extremely thick.
A fog marches in like an invading army, covering every inch of the wooded landscape, enveloping the tent and reducing visibility down to about 5 feet. Sunlight is in scarce supply, breaking through the clouds and swirling mist only once in a while, but ultimately losing the battle. Darkness falls.
JT? What the hell? Where did all this fog come from?
Oh, shit. Where the hell was the campground again? Better question, why is it so damn dark all of a sudden?
Wait, JT. Is that blood at the back of the tent where it's torn open?
Well, I don't like this shit at all. That's a ton of blood.
Just beyond, 2 glowing, glaring red eyes appear in the fog. Neither of our 2 hikers have a flashlight on hand, and why would they? Nightfall is still hours away, isn't it? Isn't it? The owner of those red eyes approaches the tent, stalking its newly found prey, its gaze cutting through the darkness and into the souls of our hapless hikers.
Oh, what the fuck is that? Shit!
Don't-
Paige, run!
Don't lose me, JT, don't.
Run!
Don't lose me.
The 2 sprint through the fog and the darkness. They've abandoned the concept of sticking together. Instead, there is only the raw, naked instinct to survive, and they soon become separated.
JT, where are you? I can't see anything. Oh God, I'm scared. Ow! What the hell? What did I just trip over? Wait, are those bones? Oh God, that's a Brew crime shirt. No, they can't be. Fuck.
Well, isn't this just great? Real fine, how do you do? Alone? In a strange place? Being hunted by something? What the hell is it? Well, that has to be Paige. She wasn't always the most graceful. Guess I know where I'm going.
This proves to be JT's last and most terrible mistake.
JT. Shit. Oh God, what do I do? I hope he's okay.
It is only human to have a fight and flight response. Or rather, a fight or flight response. Very rarely must one do both. Hearing the scream, Paige dashes into the darkness, and aided by the guiding hand of dumb luck, she finds her way back to Helm Camp. It seems as if that tent was set up by JT ages ago, and Paige sprints to it.
I know we had headlamps, a knife, and bear spray in here. It's somewhere.
Red eyes pierce the fog once more. Wasting no time, the beast pounces at Paige. But this time, with weapons in hand, she chooses to fight.
You know what? Come at me, bro. That's for JT and for Mike. God damn it. Rot in fucking hell.
What the hell was that? Who was fighting?
Holy shit, lady. Are you okay?
I don't know what the hell that is, but it attacked me, it killed my friend JT, and I'm pretty goddamn sure it dismembered our friend Mike. We need to get the hell out of here right now.
Yeah.
How the hell do we get out of here, though? JT was our navigator, and he's gone.
It's only 8 kilometers to Chicamus Lake's parking lot, and we've got a car parked there. We could drive you out and find help in Whistler.
Well, just grab as little as possible, and let's get the hell out of here.
Paige and the 2 campers she found start down the trail, half trotting into the fog. Safety is only a few hours away, but it might as well be a lifetime. The campground grows silent. A gust of wind, a rustling of leaves, and then 2 eyes like coals of fire illuminate the woods, and soon heavy footsteps begin their chase. You have been listening to The Beast of Garibaldi, an original story written especially for Octoberpod by Mike, co-host of Brew Crime. Performed by Mike, JT Hosack, Paige Elmore, Jamie McDonald, and Emily G. Thompson. Story editing by JT Hosack and Paige Elmore. You can hear more of Mike and JT on their podcast, Brew Crime. You can hear Paige as host of Reverie True Crime, and also with Mike and JT on The Brewery Report. Emily G. Thompson is the host of the podcast Morbidology. Jamie McDonald's Chatterless albums can be found on Spotify. This Octoberpod was produced and directed by Edward October. The series co-producer is MJ McAdams. The man who spoke to you was Mr. Edward October. Zaroff the Hound, written by M.J. McAdams from an original idea by Edward October, based upon The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell, starring J.T. Hosack as Zaroff and Edward October as Rainsford. Zaroff the Hound. It took 4 days and 5 nights to reach the mountain compound. An ordinary man would have died attempting a solo climb to reach the home of Zaroff, but I was no ordinary man. It was like a warlord's castle, one which rivaled even the most fortified military compounds I'd ever seen or heard of. Looming spires towered above me, sharp enough to cut the sky in two. The Gothic structure seemed out of place on the lush mountain terrain, teeming with life. The home of Zaroff was a dead thing, a phantom with windows like madly staring eyes. I thought of my dear sister Lucy, feeling my blood boil as I approached the giant oak door. The knocker wore the image of a snarling wolf with the delicate shape of a young virgin dangling from its jaws. A dark, cloaked visage stared out at me from the open door. It was the largest man I'd ever seen in my life. His eyes were lost in the darkness of his hood, his mouth twisted in a permanent snarl. The giant's beard, braided, oiled, and heavy with ivory beads, fell well past his chest, and he stroked it as he looked down on me in a menacing silence. Without flinching, I cleared my throat and looked up at the giant. "My name's Rainsford. I'm here to see Zaroff the Hound. I'm sure your master will have heard of me. Take me to him. Now." That laugh, I'd heard it before, the last time I spoke with Lucy. When she telephoned for me that one last time, a shiver seized my backbone, but I wouldn't let it break my courage. I was determined to stand up to this giant and all the devils Zaroff cared to summon up from the depths of...
Don't pay any mind to Alexei. He is a simple creature, though physically he is quite the specimen to behold. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Rainsford?
The giant, called Alexei, stepped aside to reveal a figure who belonged more to a campfire tale than to the real world. I saw why Zaroff was called the Hound, though few who saw him lived to tell the tale. Zaroff was more wolf than man. The werewolf, while not quite at Alexei's stature, still had to look down to meet my gaze. He dressed like a sophisticated gentleman should, wearing the finest silk evening attire, a pipe slouching from his massive jaw. In one clawed hand he held a glass of port, and the other a book, the cover of which looked to be suspiciously bound in human flesh. The werewolf's fur was now peppered with the ghostly white of age. His teeth, while unnervingly sharp, were yellowed and chipped. He grinned down at me and handed the skin-covered novel to Alexei in order to offer me a friendly hand.
Very good to meet you at last, Mr. Rainsford. Very good indeed. It is not often that I meet a creature of your talents. I must say, I'm quite the fan. Lucy even gifted me with some of your delightful books. Won't you join me in the dining room? Your expedition on Everest was quite remarkable, I must say. You're a survivor. I like that. I like the way survivors think.
He turned to grin at me while he spoke, eyeing me more like his next meal than a guest. Yes, well, thank you, sir. If I can, I'd like to discuss an urgent matter with you, one which I fear I cannot delay.
Later. We can discuss business after dinner, old sport. Your type is always in a hurry. Sit, eat, drink. Come and know my hospitality. We shall discuss how your sister has been enjoying her stay afterward.
Every second that passed felt like it could be my sister's last. In truth, I had no knowledge whether she was alive or dead. Creatures such as Zaroff would have no qualms about toying with me or my hopes. Even so, I had to play my cards right, or it would surely mean Lucy's death. I forced a smile and a polite bow of the head. I took a seat beside Zaroff at the dining room table. Zaroff rang a small bell, which prompted a series of robed figures to bustle into the room, filling the tables with an impressive assortment of food. Roast pheasant, wild boar, smoked shadfish, and steak, underdone to perfection, surrounded by a variety of stewed root vegetables and wild mushrooms. Cheeses and crusty loaves of bread sat beside that, and before I could turn it down, a goblet of red wine was served to me by one of the mysterious figures. I eyed them closely, hoping in vain to see my sister in the crowd. But even if she was standing at my elbow, I would not have known. Every servant of Zaroff was hidden beneath long, flowing cloaks. Their faces were lost in inky seas of darkness beneath their hoods. They all filed out as the last platter was set before us. When it was just the two of us once more, Zaroff began to speak, loading his plate with steaks fried rare. He preferred the rarest cuts, of course.
Please, indulge, Mr. Rainsford. Your journey must have been a brutal one. It isn't any man who can reach my compound, after all. Not without my assistance. I'm impressed.
Tell me, Zaroff, you know so much of me, yet I know so little of you. Lucy's very sparing with the details of her life. How did you come to be here, and in your unique condition, no less?
I was a hunter, you see, a famed one at that. There was not a beast in this world that I could not take down. Lions and rhinos in Africa, not to mention wild boar and grizzlies all over North America. You name it, I've killed it, and killed it well. I've been particularly gifted in the area of hunting ever since I was a child. But I grew bored. Imagine the terror one feels when the thing you love most no longer satiates your thirst for life. I had almost given up hope until one lucky day I came across a very clever werewolf.
Rumors of Zaroff's condition varied, though most chalked it up to a medical condition or some strange affliction brought about by an exotic disease. But no, I knew the truth. There are beings that we humans are never meant to see, who dwell in the places we are not meant to tread. Old forests, deep oceans, and most of all, the mountains. I'd seen my fair share of the unexplainable. Zaroff was nothing new.
Now, this man-beast was not like myself. He saw his condition as a weakness that only had to be endured once a month by the light of a full moon. He lived at the edge of a forest. The village hermit, they called him. In a tiny Russian village, whose name I can't recall for the life of me. He avoided almost all human contact, and lived a simple life. But he was cunning, quick, and deadly. As soon as I discovered his true nature, the thrill of the hunt was ignited in me once more. So I killed him. It wasn't easy. It was the fight of my life, and by the end of it, the damned thing took a piece of me with him. You see that chunk of meat? All gone. That was the beast's last supper. I won the hunt, and I lived, but at a cost. I was terrified that my hunting days were over, and I would be the prey. Humans don't take to my kind. I was as good as dead. But with every full moon I became stronger. Felt more like myself than ever before. My senses were enhanced to an extraordinary degree. My strength and power immeasurable. Soon I couldn't bear to take my human form any longer. Do you know there is a way to stay in your beastly form once you are turned? Are you familiar with how one goes about securing such permanency in this condition? No? Magic. Old sport. Dark magic. Blood magic. With such power, one can achieve anything they desire.
And so you use some satanic ritual to keep yourself in your werewolf form? Then what? Amassed other followers of blood magic for a cult of your very own?
Call it what you will. Power is power. No matter if it's God or the devil that gives it. It's all the same to me. My followers know this and are honored to serve me here. Your darling sister is, of course, one of my most devoted acolytes.
And where is she, then? Lucy, I mean. May I see her? Zaroff's smile never faltered, the eerie shadow of it haunting his muzzled face.
why don't you join me on a hunt tonight? It's tradition, you see. Humans aren't as challenging as other werewolves, but they are still such a thrill. Each full moon, if one of my servants requests to leave my home forever, they may do so, for a price. They volunteer to be hunted. If they win, they are free to go. But if I win, they stay in my trophy room forevermore.
Thank you for your hospitality, but I think I should be leaving with my sister. Now. Something flashed across Zaroff's eyes, though I couldn't decipher what it was. Anger, perhaps? Excitement? I did not know, nor did I wish to find out.
I insist you rest here tonight and enjoy all the comforts that my most humble residence can provide. Do sleep well, for your mother's sake. For tomorrow at dawn, you will set out on foot, and by mid-morning, I shall begin the hunt. If you win, you and Lucy both shall be free. And if not...
All right. We have a deal. I'm Edward October. We've been told that our show is cursed and has a tendency to unleash all sorts of evil spirits into our listeners' homes. Exorcise all of your demons now by kindly giving this podcast a 5-star rating. Your very soul may depend upon it. And speaking of demons, Octoberpod will return after this brief ad break. That night, as I lay awake in my bed, I thought of poor Lucy. Lucy, who'd been seduced by the evil Zaroff. For something in his nature made him irresistible to women, and men, given the bevy of young Apollos also serving as his acolytes. Even without my thoughts of Lucy, who was now drowning in a life of the dark arts, too scared to admit she needed help, I would have had difficulty sleeping, for in the distance, Zaroff hunted his next unlucky victim. A piercing shriek and a blood-curdling howl marked the end of the game. Zaroff was victorious once more, and maybe come tomorrow he would be again. I awoke just before sunrise and prepared for my journey. Breakfast had been brought to my room while I was resting, still hot. Rations and a water canteen had also been left out for me, along with some very basic bushcraft supplies. I'd begun my descent down the mountain, through the forest-like terrain that surrounded the compound. I made sure to mask my scent with a good layer of earth and whatever animal scat I could find, anything that would throw off my scent. I traveled in a serpentine path, doubling back several times to muddle my tracks. Everything I did was with the intention of throwing Zaroff off my trail, yet somehow he managed to find me. In the distance, I heard him approaching. Zaroff made no show of being a silent, stalking predator. He wanted me to know he was near. With nowhere to run, I scaled my way up the tallest tree I could find, tucking myself out of sight amongst its thick foliage. I waited. Not 5 minutes later he appeared, bestial, naked down to his wolf's coat. He sniffed this way and that, until finally pointing his snout upwards. He grinned, though he could not see me hiding in the boughs of that tree. He knew I was there all the same.
I think I shall retire for the afternoon. You've done a fine job so far, if I may say so. We shall continue after lunch.
Once I was certain he had gone, I clambered back down the tree and continued my descent of the mountainous lands of Zaroff. For all my efforts, he had still found me so easily. I had to do more. I needed to be better. I decided setting traps would be in my best interest. As I stopped for the evening, I gathered branches and sharpened them with a flint knife. Once I had a fair amount, I dug out a pit, lining the fresh hole with the stakes and hiding it with fallen leaves and grass. Then I hid and waited. Just as the sun began to lower in the sky, I heard it. The crunch of heavy footsteps. I made sure to stay perfectly still, waiting in the husk of a fallen tree, barely daring to exhale. And then it happened. A tearing of flesh and bone and an ungodly scream that shook the ground around it. But there was also another sound, the voice of Zaroff himself.
Such a shame. You've taken my Alexei from me. He's a rare breed, but the hunt must continue. I shall return tonight. No more games. Just you and me, Mr. Rainsford.
The sound of Zaroff's footsteps receding into the distance made my blood boil. I emerged from my hiding spot to find the giant in my homemade booby trap, his eyes wide and fearful as he met his end. There would be only one way to win against Zaroff. I'd have to kill him. With my hands. Countless other bodies lay rotting like landmarks against the mountainside. It reminded me of Everest, one of the corpses on Zaroff's mountain, now a moss-crusted skeleton, had something shiny resting just beneath it. I leaned down for a closer look and discovered short but thick silver chains. That's when it clicked. If Zaroff was truly a monster from the old legends, then Silver could defeat him, or at the very least wound him. I grabbed the silver chains and placed them in my satchel, pressed forward. As the moon rose high into the night, I waited for Zaroff on the lower mountain cliff. No more running. No more playing games. I would kill him and finally bring my sister home.
Surely you don't mean to fight me.
I pulled the silver chains out of my satchel along with the flint knife. He flinched at the sight of Silver, and I knew I'd found his weakness. His cold yellow eyes filled with a quiet rage.
Very well. Have it your way, then.
He lunged towards me, but I moved at the last second, missing his claws by barely an inch. I swung the chains out, and they wrapped around his throat, hissing like vipers as they seared his flesh like a steak fried rare. He let out a painful howl, using the silver chains to pull me towards him. With the full force of his body, he threw me down to the ground. I felt the air leave my body at the shock of the fall, but fought on. We tumbled this way and that. He clawed at my face, and I sank my flint knife into his right eye and plucked it out. He slashed at my throat, and I squeezed the chains tighter around his neck, watching the silver burn layer after layer into the raw flesh of his neck. Just when I thought his strength was about to give out, Zaroff snapped his jaws at my arm, sinking his teeth into my battered flesh. I screamed and reeled backwards. I felt the venom of an ancient curse burning its way through my bloodstream, and heard the mocking laugh of Zaroff ringing in my ears.
Now, we are one and the same, old sport. Maybe I shall keep you after all. We can wait and face each other as equals. Winner can feast on the flesh of your delicious sister.
God damn you! I did the only thing I could think of to do. There was only one way to win against Zaroff the Hound. I ran to the edge of the cliff and threw myself off before the werewolf could stop me. But I was already far below him, dead and gone, or so he thought. What Zaroff overlooked as he stumbled home to his mountain fortress was just how good of a mountain climber I really was. If he had truly read my books, as he said, he would have known I had nearly fallen many times over my years of adventuring, but every single time I had caught myself. I found my footing, waiting for Zaroff's absence to begin my ascent up the cliff and back to the compound. My new werewolf blood had already increased my speed and stamina. For that much I was thankful. When I crept back inside the compound, I found my dear Lucy, though not as promised. There on the wall of his trophy room, stuffed and mounted like an animal, was the head of my dear sister. He had never intended to leave her alive. A rage like never before filled my body, and I waited behind the curtain in the darkness of Zaroff's chambers. I waited as he bathed and nursed his wounds. Waited as he ate and drank himself into a stupor. And waited as he stumbled into the bedroom. Only then did I emerge from the shadows. Zaroff looked as though he had seen a ghost, but quickly found his earlier charm. He grinned and held out a still bloodied hand.
Good, Rainsford, very good. You win. What excellent sport. You have bested and outsmarted me. Now you and your Lucy are free to go. So you have found her already, I presume. Very well then, let's finish this. Winner gets the compound, the servants, and this deliciously soft bed. Softest in the world. May the best werewolf win.
As I lay there that night with Zaroff's blood still on my hands and the delicious stench of a fresh kill still in the air, I couldn't help but agree with the old bastard. It really was the softest bed in the whole damned world. I'm Edward October. We've been told that our show is cursed and has a tendency to unleash all sorts of evil spirits into our listeners' homes. Exorcise all of your demons now by kindly giving this podcast a 5-star rating. Your very soul may depend upon it. the Final Girls True Crime Podcast, written by MJ McAdams from an original idea by Edward October. The screen of a laptop flickers with the grotesque image used as a desktop wallpaper. The image is something out of a creepypasta or a found footage film. Eerie, unsettling, suggestively violent. Folder icons with cryptic, nonsensical, and or unsettling sounding names litter the cluttered screen. A web browser window opens and navigates to the landing page for a podcast. Final Girls True Crime. The gnarled hand manipulating the mouse presses play.
You're in the mix.
What's up, Slasher Pack? This is your girl, Carlotta, and welcome to Final Girls True Crime. If you're joining us for the first time, you're listening to the only true crime podcast hosted by Final Girls, and exclusively covering slasher crimes and chronicling the stories of their victims and their survivors. This is a very special episode because we've got a full studio.
A full house.
That's right. We've got a full house today because we're on location at Creeper Con East. It's the last day of the con, and we've been able to meet up with some very special ladies.
Queens, heroes, final girls we look up to.
Queens among us mere mortals.
One of them came from very far away to be with us today at the convention.
Ladies, would you like to introduce yourselves and give us a Cliff Notes version of your Final Girl origin stories?
Right. I guess I'll go first. I think I've travelled the furthest to be here. My name is Babs, and I'm the sole survivor of Tightrope, a famous slasher who preyed on young girls in my hometown of Johannesburg. I was 17 and babysitting for a neighbour. Tightrope liked to strangle or hang girls using neckties.
That guy was a real piece of work, but he didn't just kill girls, he killed others. But just not so fetishistically. Not with the necktie, I mean.
That's correct. In my case, he managed to murder just about everyone on my floor and the 2 adjacent floors in my apartment building. I wrote all about it in my book, Tightrope of Trauma, Recovery and Redemption in the Aftermath of Violent Crime.
Hello, y'all. This is Lila. If you're in the Final Girls fan community, then y'all know me in connection with the murders of Mitch Saxon. It's not funny, but I often joke that he's the only boyfriend I've ever stabbed in the neck. So far.
All right, Annie, would you care to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would.
What do you mean?
Anybody who listens to the show knows who the hell I am.
Yes, but as Stan Lee once said, any comic book could be someone's first.
Yeah, but this ain't no fucking comic book.
Annie, we've talked about this.
Fine. Hi, my name's Annie and I'm a final girl. Hi, Annie. Except I'm way too old for you to be calling me a final girl. And if you call me a grandma, I'll drop you as quick as I dropped Bat Dragon.
Well, before he came back as zombie Bat Dragon.
Ain't no fucking zombie Bat Dragon. Bat Dragon is deader than cat shit. And that's the natural state for anybody that's been dismembered, chained to a Ford Bronco, and dropped in the bottom of a lake.
And I'm Annie's co-host, Carlotta. Y'all Packers will know me as the Capricorn Killer's final girl.
Allegedly.
And you may also know me as a panelist for Things That Make You Go Nope on Shiver. And we're here with these lovely ladies to discuss a recent rash of slasher killings in the Tri-Cities of Northeast Tennessee. A killer that police are calling the Johnson County Ripper has been preying upon co-eds at the East Tennessee State University and nearby Appalachian State University. And mama, his methods are brutal. The J.C. Ripper's weapon of choice is suspected to be a chainsaw, though many...
And so, after an hour or two, including mid-reel ads, the podcast ends. The recording stops. Mics are switched off and unplugged, accompanied by the hushed clicks of laptops being closed. The ladies remove their headphones and the mood becomes dark. Dark even by true crime standards.
14 hours in the air.
Hey, Annie, can I speak to you in private? Like, right now?
Ugh.
What's your fucking problem today?
I don't have a problem at all, but I'm a survivor, not some half-assed true crime cheerleader. That's the difference between the two of us.
Wow. I don't even... Look, girl, I'm a survivor. We both are. Check the name tag. I am a final girl. That makes me a big deal. Makes both of us a big deal.
Allegedly.
And that is my limit for this allegedly bullshit. You don't have to like me, but if we're going to continue to work together, you're going to have to show me a little respect. At least while we're recording the show. You like those paychecks just as much as I do. I mean, come on, Annie. I thought we were friends.
Whatever you say, little Miss Big Deal.
I've never been to one of these conventions before.
Neither have I. Normally, I feel like an outsider. But here I feel almost normal, you know? More the person I am, not the person I pretend to be in polite society.
Polite society? What's that? I know what you mean, though, but I've got to admit, I love the attention. Being a final girl definitely has its perks. Can't go anywhere without being noticed when I go back home.
That's not something to be proud of. Not dying shouldn't make you famous. You ain't Britney fucking Spears. You just avoided your own murder. That ain't nothing to glamorize.
So, last day of CreeperCon. They always save the best for last. Are any of you going to dress up for the cosplay contest?
No, but I signed up to be one of the judges. Competition this year's pretty fierce.
Did you see the drag queen outside the final girl's haunted house? The one dressed up as slutty bat dragon.
Yes, she was amazing. I think she's going to be hosting the Scream Queens After Hours rave. Which reminds me, I got you all VIP passes. Don't let me forget to give you your wristbands. I left them in the... Better take this. Hello?
So, Annie, which events are you planning on attending? What would you like to see first?
This building in my rearview mirror.
Pardon?
I'm going home. I ain't sticking around for this nonsense, and neither should you. Not if you know what's good for you.
Now, hang on, sugar. We've been through a lot now, haven't we, Miss Annie? Seen a whole lot of fudged up stuff that nobody should ever have to see. Now, don't you think we owe it to ourselves to have just a little bit of fun?
She's right, you know. I think if anyone deserves to blow off some steam, it's us. I'll grant you that these cons are a little bit cheesy, but I'll take cheese and fun over...
Over what? Peace and quiet? I guess you ladies have different definitions of fun. Mine's sitting at home with my Yorkies, a case of Miller beer, and Netflix. Y'all take care.
Oh my god, shit! I can't believe this is happening.
What now? Did Josh Mankiewicz like one of your tweets about Dateline?
No! And fuck you, Annie.
I bet somebody plagiarized her script for that BTK episode she did. I can't tell you how many times somebody's stolen.
Worse, that was my friend Sylvia. She thinks her cousin was kidnapped by the local copycat killer.
What?
She says she followed them to a warehouse downtown.
Tell her to call the authorities straight away.
Yeah, why's she calling you? This ain't the fucking Scooby
She
Gang.
tried already. They thought it was a prank, you know, because of this convention.
Okay, Sugar Booger, we are just going to calm down. Then we're gonna... I guess we could run down to the nearest police station and report it in person. Gosh, there's probably a bunch of off-duty cops in attendance in the convention hall who would help us call it in.
What copycat killer? Who's he copying? There's not been anything in the news.
He's a new player, apparently some local shitbag who wants to make a name for himself. Cops don't have many leads except he's already killed at least 3 women. Sicko sent the cops a list of how many women he's planning to kill and how he plans to do it. He's mimicking some of his favorite serial killers. And all of the slashers who made us final girls are on that list.
This is a fucking joke.
No joke. His list? He's planning to take his victims out in the precise way our slashers tried to take us out.
Carly, that ain't possible. Why the hell he'd be trying to imitate those hacks? I mean, excuse the pun. It sounds a little off to me. Did I mention Scooby-Doo yet?
Stranger things have happened, and everyone has a hero. Someone to idolize. Even folks who are messed up in the head. Oh, it'd be a shame if someone was killed using Mitch's, methods.
It took some effort, especially with Annie, but Carlotta managed to convince the final girls to follow her in her quest. They soon arrive at Cauldron Novelties, Inc., a massive Halloween costume and decor warehouse located in a lonely industrial park on the outskirts of town. Leading up to October, it's a booming emporium of all things spooky. It's closed for the season, but they quickly sleuth out signs of a break-in. They also find blood on the door handle. Weapons and flashlights in hand, they slip wordlessly inside.
All right, Sylvia has to be around here somewhere.
The same could be said for our killer. Let's just find your friend and get out of here.
If she's still alive. Didn't you see the blood on that door?
Let's stay positive there, Puddin'. What's the plan, Miss Carlotta?
Well, first things first, we need to split up, and...
Splitting up is what gets people killed in the first place. This ain't Scooby-Doo, dumbass. I know. How about me and Shaggy go make a triple-decker submarine sandwich?
We'll cover more ground that way. The faster we can get her and get out of here, the better. Lila, you and Babs check out the shipping and receiving areas. Me and Annie will search the storage areas. We'll have weapons. We'll be fine.
We have 2 bats, a kitchen knife, and a machete.
Hey, that's something.
Yes, see, it will be fine. But we are wasting valuable time standing around. Here, I'll trade you your bat for my machete if it makes you feel better. Now, let's get moving.
Annie reluctantly accepts the machete. Soon Lila and Babs are out of sight amongst a mix of haunted house props and cheap costumes. Annie and Carlotta walk through seemingly endless racks of animatronic ghosts and ghouls, careful to check that they aren't hiding a masked killer. There is an unspoken tension between them that Carlotta can no longer bear.
You know, if we're able to stop this creep, we'll be twice as famous as we are now. I mean, we've done pretty well for ourselves, but think about it. Final girls who team up to take down a serial killer. They'll make movies about us. And think how many downloads our podcast will get. We will be bigger than Serial.
Do I look like I give a runny shit about that? Carly, if what you say is true, and I have my doubts, but if it's true, there could only be minutes, maybe seconds, to save this girl's life. That should be our focus, not your goddamn podcast.
Our goddamned podcast?
Listen, I'm not doing this shit because I want to. I do it because I have to. I do it because I want to live and go on living. And I want to help other girls like us learn how to do the same. And I thought you did too, but now you're too busy chasing clout.
You know what? Go fuck yourself. I'ma find this killer on my own. I don't need your help. You're not the only true survivor around here.
Alrighty then. Bye-bye. Don't come running to me if you catch some power tools to the face.
Carlotta vanishes into a tunnel of terror display that's been set up in one of the staging areas of the warehouse. There is a long silence during which Annie, wondering if she'd been too cruel to Carlotta, contemplates following her. Annie grips her machete and runs into the tunnel in the direction of the gunfire. Halfway through the tunnel, her foot catches on a slippery lump and trips. As she falls, the beam of her flashlight catches the object she tripped on. As she'd feared, it's Carlotta, She's lying face down on the vinyl floor of the tunnel. Her white shirt is riddled with bullet holes and soaked to the skin with blood.
Damn it, not breathing. Come out, you fucking coward. Come out and face me like a man. Statistically speaking, you are a man. And probably a bedwetter, too. I hear you coming, fuckface. I got something for you.
Hold on, sugar, it's just me. You can put that machete down.
Oh, thank God. What happened to Babs?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. She disappeared. 1 minute she was behind me, and the next, gone. Just gone. I heard the gunshots and came over as quickly as I could. I think we really should just call the cops. Is everyone okay? Where's Carlotta?
Deader than cat shit. She went after the killer on her own. Fucked around and found out.
Oh no, the poor baby. Isn't that how the Capricorn killer murdered his victims? By shooting them?
Yeah, but listen, lower your voice. We gotta find Babs and get out of here. Still got your bat?
Honey, does a shark wee-wee in the ocean?
Good, come on, let's roll.
That's gotta be Babs. Hold on, Babs. We're coming for you, sweetheart.
Damn it, Lila, wake up!
Annie charges forward and swings the machete at the killer, but he's much faster. He lets the body, Babs's body, fall to the ground with a thud and then disappears into the synthetic fog.
Where'd he go?
Come on, baby, breathe. I can't. Her windpipe is so badly crushed. I'm so sorry, baby girl.
Is she?
Yeah, she's gone. Bless her little heart.
Lila, we really need to get out of here.
What about Carlotta's friend, Sylvia?
I don't think there actually was a Sylvia. Probably just a trap laid by the killer. Something to lure us here. And if the real Sylvia was here, she's just as dead as the others.
All right, let's go, but I've got to admit, there's a part of me that wants to stay behind and kill that crumb bum myself. Just look at her. He killed her with a heckin' necktie, and an ugly one, too.
Just like Tightrope. This asshole's a copycat killer, all right. And he's using the same method of choice our own slashers would have used on us. Huh, what a dickbag.
I hope there aren't any ice picks around here. Mitch, my slasher, he killed all those girls with ice picks. He'd shove 'em right through the skull or sometimes in both eye sockets if he was feeling a little rushed. He was famous for his hack job lobotomies.
Jesus fucking H. Christ.
Jesus ain't got nothing to do with Mitch. That boy was a spawn of Satan if I ever met one. What about Bat Dragon? I know, I should have read up on him before coming on your podcast, and I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Axes. Bat Dragon likes to kill with axes, hatchets, and shit like that.
Yeah, but what about zombie Bat Dragon?
There ain't no fucking zombie Bat Dragon.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I hear it. Somebody's trying to set the right mood. Stay close.
You don't have to tell me twice.
See that? We're close to an exit. We're gonna have to make a run for it. Lila?
Annie doesn't see the dark shape approaching from behind. Doesn't notice its hand closing tight over Lila's mouth. Doesn't even hear the muffled cries over the drone of cheesy Halloween music. Before she can turn around, Lila's been dragged away into the darkness of the warehouse, behind rows and rows of latex monster masks, all wrapped in clear plastic.
Help me! Help!
Annie, adrenaline pumping, runs toward Lila's distressed cries. She finds herself deeper and deeper in the center of the warehouse, and farther from the exit. She finds a mock haunted house about the size of the double-wide trailer Annie lived in as a child, full of fake cobwebs and cheap plastic fright props. Annie tightens her grip on her machete and steps inside.
Lila, where are you?
Annie, run! It's her! It's...
Lila! 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 Lila?
A dim light illuminates a styrofoam coffin. Blood trickles down the side. The lid of the coffin is slightly ajar. Annie holds her breath and opens it.
Son of a bitch, Lila? Lila, sweetie, are you... Oh no, so much blood. Ice picks. An ice pick in each eye socket? What kind of monster? I hear you, asshole. You may be pretty good at sneaking up behind me, but you ain't no bat dragon, not by a mile. And when I'm done with you, you'll be buried so fucking deep no one will ever find you, and no one will remember you or your crimes. Freaks like you are a dime a dozen. You're nothing special. You're just a footnote. I'm surprised you can even lift that axe. It's a big one. Trying to compensate for something, Cupcake? Come on, you pathetic wannabe. You want a piece of this? I hope you packed a fucking lunch.
To her surprise, the slasher, definitely not Bad Dragon, runs away, back in the direction of the exit sign, which casts an eerie red glow over the back wall of the warehouse, back into the bank of synthetic fog. Annie follows close on the slasher's heels, but then realizes, as the fog starts to blind her, that she's running into a trap. The slasher attacks from the left. Annie dodges, and the edge of the axe slices the sleeve of her shirt. Annie swings her machete in a wide arc faster than the killer can react. The shape moves through the fog to avoid the blade, but not fast enough. The machete bites into the killer's axe hand, and the axe and two of the killer's fingers fall to the concrete floor with a spray of hot blood. Annie reaches for the killer's mask, but before she can remove it, the killer lunges to grab the axe with a remaining uninjured hand. Annie's reflexes kick in. She turns to run, but not quickly enough. The killer buries the axe just beneath Annie's shoulder blade. Annie drops to the floor. Her face slaps against concrete. The killer laughs. Annie spits out a tooth.
Die, you crusty old bitch. Oh, you don't look much like a survivor now, do you, sweetie?
Annie decides it's best to play dead. The killer, a surprisingly not dead Carlotta, had fucked her up. But she wasn't all that fucked up. Sure, Annie's got an axe stuck in her back, but Carlotta's not as strong as she thinks she is. From Annie's best estimate, she's lost a tooth, broken her nose, and has a broken rib, thanks to the axe. A little more force, and she'd have a critical issue with her lung. But Annie's gotten lucky for now. After her ordeal with the real Bat Dragon, Annie honed her survival skills. A friend of hers, a retired Navy SEAL, taught her how to evade an enemy in water. As a result, Annie knows how to hold her breath for a long time, and she holds it long enough to convince Carlotta she's dead, long enough for Carlotta to walk away. With Carlotta's attention diverted, is she recording a podcast? Annie grits her teeth and pulls the axe from her back, holding it firmly in her right hand. Then slowly, silently, with the stealth of a retired Navy SEAL, she follows Carlotta's voice through the fog. She finds Carlotta sitting on a fake tombstone, smiling into a webcam, her injured hand still bleeding. Annie waits in the shadows, waits, and listens.
What's up, Slasher Pack? This is your girl Carlotta, and welcome to the finale of the Final Girls True Crime Podcast, hosted by your final girl. And damn, do I have some true crime to talk about. That's right, baby. I'm the baddest queen bitch of them all. Now you might be asking yourself, Carlotta, what do you mean? Where's Annie? Well, I will tell you. That bitch is dead. So is that insufferable Lila and her stuck-up friend Babs. All dead. All except for me. You see, beloved Slash Packers, I've been wronged. I've been treated as if I'm less than my peers. My final girl street cred keeps getting questioned over and over. And that's so unfair. I'm the only survivor of the Capricorn killer. Me. I defeated the psycho who gunned down more than 50 young women over 2 years. The cops didn't stop him. I did. But am I taken seriously? No. But I had an idea. A test that would prove I was a true final girl. I lured 3 of the most famous final girls to this shitty warehouse and put their skills to the test. And I dropped them all. Didn't even break a sweat doing it. Even little, old Annie, the lone survivor of the big bad Bat Dragon, was no match for me. So folks, there you have it. Not only am I a final girl, but I am the final girl. The baddest bitch in all of slasher history.
Caught up in her moment of triumph, Carlotta doesn't hear Annie approaching from behind. Doesn't turn to see the cold eyes over her shoulder as she raises a bloody axe over her head, and then the axe falls, splitting Carlotta's head in half.
You ain't no bad bitch. You're just a dumb bitch. When you see Bat Dragon in hell, Carlotta, give him my regards. Tell him a real bad bitch sent you.
Baddest bitch in all of slasher history. All of slasher history.
A gnarled hand manipulates a mouse and presses stop on the in-browser podcast player. The mouse clicks over the Final Girls True Crime About Us page and lingers over Annie's profile picture and bio. Then the browser window closes out and the grotesque desktop artwork emerges from the background of the laptop screen. The laptop shuts down, and the undead corpse of the slasher once called Bat Dragon shambles from his lair to resume his bloody work.
Save yourself, you saved the whole world. That's when I knew you'd be my final girl.
You have been listening to the Final Girls True Crime Podcast, presented by Octoberpod, written by M.J. McAdams, from an original story idea by Edward October. In the cast, you heard Jen, co-host of our True Crime Podcast, as Annie, M.J. McAdams as Carlotta, Paige Elmore, host of Reverie True Crime, as Lila, Nicole Engelbrecht, host of True Crime South Africa, as Babs. Additional narration by Edward October. Original music by Chris McCready, Nico Vitiz, and Dr. Dreamchip. The series co-producer is M.J. McAdams. Octoberpod is produced, edited, and directed by Edward October.
Additional audio engineering by Tara Voshell, co-host of the Three Spooked Girls podcast, and also known as Spooky Sleuth on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Find Three Spooked Girls anywhere you listen to podcasts, and reach out to us at threespookedgirls@gmail.com for audio editing work.
If you're only listening to Octoberpod, you're missing out on half the fun. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Octoberpod Home Video, to receive new videos on the first and third Tuesday of each month. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OctoberpodVHS, on TikTok at Octoberpod, or, God help us, on Pinterest at Octoberpod. Shop for gifts and apparel for bold individualists at our Spreadshirt.com merch shop, Octoberpod Outfitters. You can find us and all of our links on the World Wide Web at OctoberpodVHS.com. The man who spoke to you was Mr. Edward October.